What up, what up, football fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. You all know what time it is. It's time for the real deal. NFC East Round-Up. Punch that intro. What is going on out there, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan here with my guy, the super dope co-host Adam Costas. How you feeling today out there, Adam?
I'm good. Life's good. Time to talk about our the football that's going on. I can't believe we're already at week 9. It is flying by.
Yeah, man. It's First of all, let me say what's up to Daniel Barry, sportsman. Appreciate you popping in, man, as you always do, man. Appreciate the support, appreciate the love, my brother. Thanks for popping in. But yeah, it's just been a tough year, man, to be a New York Giant fan. It's been a tough year to be a lot of teams fans, to be honest, in this football season, the way things have been going. This season is so bizarre. I mean, New York Giants now sitting at 2-7. And you know what the worst part about being 2-7 is that there's so much other bad football teams in the league this season that even our 2-7 would still only be good enough for about right about now the seventh or eighth draft pick or something like that, from what
I
I'm
think we moved up.
understanding. And that's we might have moved up some. We moved up some finally. Okay, good. Well, either still, we haven't moved up near. We still haven't moved up enough for my liking. We need to get up to the front of the line at this point. This football team is an absolute joke. What is going on? No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate you always, my brother, man.
Oh
But
man, it's
yeah,
my
this,
team.
this team, man, continuously finding ways to lose. The Washington Commanders. We're gonna get right to it. Going right into the Washington Giants game, 1 o'clock this past Sunday. Washington completing the season sweep of the New York Giants, man. First place against last place. First place wins, and first place got the job done, man. I just this team is this New York Giant team has been trying my patience. Kenneth Perkins, man, appreciate you popping in. Thanks, man, for stopping by, bro. But this team is trying my patience. Tuesday, you know, we'll get into the game in a bit. But Tuesday we had the trade deadline. A lot of things has a lot of things going on, man. God, teams making moves, teams, positioning themselves. What did the New York Giants do all day on Tuesday, man? Not a goddamn thing is what the New York Giants did. Got people calling you up, legit interest in Aziz Ojolari. I'm hearing there was some interest in Darius Slayton. Like, what are we doing at this point, man? We are a terrible football team. I get that these guys right now have been, somewhat productive players adding something to the roster for what it's worth, but are they part of the long term solution? Because it doesn't appear that they're part of the long term solution. I mean, at least unless y'all know, unless I'm just completely mistaken. And and why are we going to potentially lose these guys and get absolutely nothing for them if they walk away in the offseason and free agency? What have we learned nothing from the errors of our ways? I mean, Xavier McKinney, Saquon Barkley. I mean, like, have we learned Julian Love, for example, a few guys, have we learned nothing from the error of our ways, man? If they're not part of the future plan and you pretty much know that they're not, then why not get what you can get for them? I mean, maybe guys were lowballing you a little, teams were lowballing you a bit. But honestly, at the end of the day, something is better than nothing, in my opinion. And it's like I don't get why what we're hanging on to guys for as if we have some kind of chance to turn this disgusting season around. We already have 7 losses. We already have 7 losses. There ain't no turning around this season. It's over. It is over. So, like, what are we really doing? Doing to try to make this to make our situation better? I just don't. I'm at this point. I don't even know what to think anymore, man. I don't know, Adam. If you got some words, comments about this, or if you want to just talk about the game, what you
Well,
got, bro?
we'll do both. We can talk about the game and we'll talk about this trade deadline. But since we're on the trade deadline, my thoughts are with you. What are we doing? You should have offered these guys an extension. Do we not forget that Darius Slayton was basically given a pay cut this year? And basically, you slapped him in the face. He tried to hold out, quote unquote, because he wanted more money and an extension, and you didn't want to give it to him. You decided to change his money to give him incentive-based contract, which he might not hit because he's injured. I don't know if he practiced today, but he may or may not hit those plateaus. Okay, so now you don't want to give him that money. Then what's going to happen? I'll tell you what might happen. They're going to want to go test the market. They're not going to say, "Hey, let me get your offer." They're going to say, "Let me see who's out there." Let me see what's out there. Now, Slayton might be a good guy because that's just who he is, and he might come back if you up the number. But what if a team comes out and blows him away, and you only want to pay him a 1-year deal? Plus, you also draft capital of Jalen Hyatt. What does that say about your draft capital? If a guy you were supposed to replace him with can't even get on the field, yet now you're going to put more money into that position. That's why. And then Azeez Ojulari. Listen, man, I've been a fan of Azeez Ojulari for a long time. As a matter of fact, I called out one year that he would have a breakout campaign in year 2 because I loved the pick of this guy. I absolutely thought he oozed talent. He was going to be one of our mighty, mighty pass rushers for years to come. Hasn't quite lived up to it due to the injuries. However, he is a menace to society when he's out there on that field. I say he's better than Kayvon Thibodeau, but that's just me. When healthy, I think he's better than him. What does that mean, though? If he finishes the year healthy, right now I think he has, 5, maybe 6 sacks on the year? I don't. Let me get the full number for you.
Something like 5, I believe 5. I think it's 5 because nobody got a sack, and I think that's
yes. So
5.
He has 6 sacks, right? I mean 5 sacks, excuse me. So, actually he has 6. He has 6 on the year. So 6 right now, right? Guys get paid for 6 sacks. We still have 8 games to go, right? 8 games left in the year. You don't think he might pick up a sack or 2? So now we're talking about he's probably going to land in between the 8 to 12 sack range. Okay, 8 to 12 sack range. You know what guys like that on the market get paid? They get paid. Okay, Bryce Huff just got paid. All right, he had 1 10-sack season, and then they're going to pay him, right? So now you have your question about whether or not you're going to keep this guy long term because then Kayvon Thibodeau comes up. Because now Kayvon Thibodeau, who is going to be in his year, he doesn't have any leverage right now because he's not playing right now. So he's not getting stats to stack that number up. Is he going to be worth it? Because he's going to hold that at one point. He might have a breakout year. What are you going to do? If you let this guy walk, he's going to go to another team and ball the fuck out. Because he's that good. I think he's better than Bryce Huff. And Bryce Huff got $50 million from the Eagles. And this guy has been a sack artist every time he's come in. I mean, the sack ratio is ridiculous with this guy. Every time he plays, he gets a sack, but then he gets injured with hamstrings and all this stuff. And that's what has been his issue. This has been his breakout campaign. And again, what do they tell you? Don't pay people off their breakout campaign. Well, guess what? He has 6 sacks, people, with 8 games to go. And there's plenty of quarterbacks out there, i.e. this week, where he can get a sack or 2. And that number goes up. And that number is going to keep going up the more sacks that he gets. So the question you have to ask yourself.
Let's remind you real quick, Adam, real quick. Let me remind you that he's got 6 sacks, and for the first month of the season, he was nothing more than just a rotational piece on the defense. Right. So let that sink in as well.
So now that he's getting more playing time, and that will obviously decrease as Kayvon Thibodeau comes in, but that doesn't mean he won't be a specialist and wreak havoc. There you go. So now you have a guy that you're now probably going to have to pay an astronomical number to. And do you want to tie up the $100 million that you have with Burns and the money now with Azeez Ojulari, right? And here's another reason why you may not have wanted to get Brian Burns. Maybe you should have drafted a guy and kept it cheap, and then Azeez Ojulari could have been your big ticket item. I don't know. But if these dudes walk next year and you get nothing for them, or maybe you get a comp pick because that's what people are talking about because they know the comp formula. I mean, even the GMs don't even know the damn comp formula. And I'm supposed to believe that people on Twitter can know, like, there's not a comp. Even if you do get a comp pick, the highest that you think you can get is maybe a fourth. I could be wrong, maybe a third at best. Okay. So now you're going to get one pick for two players because the money evens out with the amount of money you pay. It's the amount of comp picks you get. So unless you know the comp formula, which Joe Shane looks like an idiot, so I don't think he knows much of anything, you're going to let him walk. And I don't care if it's a mandate from Mara, right? Because a lot of people say Mara doesn't want to look bad, so he doesn't want to make trades because it's a bad product out there. Well, you're the GM. You're the person that's supposed to be able to have enough balls to go into your boss and say, listen, the reason why I think we should trade Ojulari is, we want to get our quarterback next year. We want to have enough ammunition to move up in the draft, up and down in the draft. I know we're having a bad season, but, try to convince him to say why it's a good idea and be confident in what you do. And I'm sure he'll let you do it. Hell, he let Barkley walk out the building, and that guy's having an all-pro year. And we'll get to him in a minute. So, I don't necessarily. I'm glad you didn't get any players. That's good, but it's bad that you didn't get rid of any players because you need to have the foresight to do that. Evan Neal, he's collecting dust on your bench. Why not? There's teams that need tackles all over the fucking field.
They got rid of. They cut Nick McLeod. They released Nick McLeod.
The guy who actually started games for you and is probably the best corner on your team. We're going to cut him for salary cap reasons. Like, you're having trouble with your starting corners, literally. Okay? Adoree Jackson's not doing shit. Deontay Banks is getting cooked worse than the grease on the bottom of the frying, the deep fryer, right? Like, this guy is getting cooked left and right. Andre Phillips is playing out of position. But you want to get Nick McLeod, who hasn't done anything wrong, who's been a staple of your team for the last couple of years. You want to cut him for salary cap reasons. To bring in what? Oh, I don't know, extra offensive linemen because, the projects that you brought in, the Josh Azudus, the Marcus McKeithans, the fucking Evan Neals of the world don't work out. I mean, what should have happened on the trade deadline is we should have sold the farm. That's what we should have did. You walk into John Mara's room, you go, we're 2-7. The probability of us making the playoffs are slim to none. Let's try to procure our best, draft slot so we can get a better player. My drafts were good. My draft was good this year, right? I got 7 good players in Newman and Neighbors and Tracy and blah, 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 all down the line, right? Even my tight end made some plays. You have that in your back pocket to at least say that and say, listen, I know it may look bad, but I guarantee you when we get our quarterback and we get our guy in here, it'll be great, John. I'm telling you. But I need to let go of these guys because I want to have as much draft capital as we come. So as we strip some of these contracts off, boom, you walk in, there's your plan. John Mara goes, okay, that's it, boom. That's it. He's already given you the state of execution. So you should be doing your job as if you have a job. Now, if you're worried about being fired, which this looks like, doing nothing looks like a GM like that, a person who's getting fired, you did nothing. And now, what is going to happen? What's going to happen when we don't make the playoffs, right? Because we're not, like Max said. I think we've been 3 games max at that, and that's because a few teams have injuries, but they're still better than us. But 3 games max. So let's say you end up 5-12, right? I think that's the new math. 5-12. What are you going to sell the fan base when? What are you going to sell the fan base? You're going to have to draft a quarterback regardless. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you have to reach for one. There's guys in here that have talent to be quarterbacks, and you have to be bold enough to pick one because guess what? You made this bed, so now you got to fucking lie in it. And just roster construction, have the foresight to see, well, our season's bad. Let me acquire assets to get more picks because that's what we really need because we got a ton of holes. Whether or not you use those fucking picks or not to pick players and you stick and pick, fine. But at least get something because maybe you do. Maybe like Nomad said, trade with the Patriots. Let's say the Patriots are 4 and you're 9. Because you decided to win games because we have to make it look good. Now you call the Patriots up and say, no, we'll give you our first this year, our first next year, the extra 5th and blah, 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 right? Trade with the Pats. And they're a team I'm keeping my eye on because they already have a relationship with them. And I think that's what they're doing too. I think as a Giant fan, they're kind of hedging their bets there too. And if Patriots land there, they've already kind of opened it up and made the deal. They got their quarterback. Boom. If you're Joe Shane, you better have the foresight to be on that fucking phone with that organization to be like, all right, let's do something. You did it with fucking Dan Morgan when you put that flyer out there, and then you called them, and you got guys. You have relationships. Use it. Because right now, Joe Shane is walking this tightrope of stupidity. Last year, he didn't trade nobody except for like Leonard Williams, right? So now Leonard Williams goes, and you get a pick for Leonard Williams. But let me guess, you had to ask him to trade him. You've already used assets to get a tight end. We drafted another tight end. Like, you see how mind-boggling this is? You have Daniel Bellinger on the bench. You know what? Let's get to the game because I'm tired of this. This team gets on my nerves. Just gets on my nerves. It's just hard to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. Hosting the Washington Commanders, in MetLife on Sunday. Lawrence Taylor in the building, Phil Simms in the building. Couple New York Giant legends. You think this team could get fired up to go out there and want to take it to their division rival? Nah, not this team. Not this team. Jaden Daniels, his regular old efficient self, coming out there 15 to 22, 209 yards, 2 touchdown passes on the day, added 35 yards on the ground, averaged about almost 10 yards per pass. Almost 10 yards per pass is what Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback in this game, averaged. Defense came out, had to put together a pretty solid performance. I mean, their defense, it wasn't anything great, and the Giants' offense did move the ball pretty decent at times in this game, but once again, just not able to get the job done. Daniel Jones on the day, I mean, statistically, not horrible in a sense, but it's just some of the things, man. He just doesn't make enough winning plays, and it just is what it is with this guy. I mean, I'm fed up. I'm tired of watching him because it's just not. It's not good enough. What we're seeing is not good enough. I mean, for what it's worth, 28-26, 174 yards, and 2 touchdown passes on the day, and that should have actually been 3 touchdown passes. That offensive pass interference was an absolute bullshit call. Take the touchdown. I'll take that touchdown off the board. And he ran for a touchdown, which actually one of my favorite Daniel Jones plays ever, just because he actually looked like he showed some fire. I need that energy. Why can't we get that kind of energy all the time from this guy? He was clearly, that was an angry run, and he made it a point to score that touchdown. But at the end of the day, it's just not enough with this guy, man. Like I said, it's still the fact that part of the reasons Washington got on the board in the first place with their first score was because, once again, Daniel Jones with another bonehead fumble situation. It's like, dude, you're a 6-year veteran. At what point do you stop making these stupid ass mistakes over and over again, man? And it drives me crazy when you watch it, because it's like, dang, get rid of the football, or just hold on to the football and just take the sack and take the loss, man, and take the L in that moment. It's not. It was early in the game. It's not the end of the world. And you cough that ball up like that and pretty much set Washington right up in money position. That just got the ball rolling for that football team. This Giant team, once again, I mean, they ran the ball very well overall, 164 yards on the ground, a complete effort. I mean, got it from everybody. Tyrone Tracy, Daniel Jones, Singletary. I mean, Darius Slayton even had a nice run at one point in this game. But here's something that bothers me, and I talked about it on my Aftermath stream after the game on Sunday, and it's these numbers from Malik Neighbors that really, really, really bother me, because you tell me Malik Neighbors had 9 catches on the day, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, way to go, great day for the young guy. But then you look further into the stat line, and it's like 9 catches for 59 yards. That's not what the fuck you drafted. That's not what you drafted Malik Neighbors for. It's not what you drafted Malik Neighbors for, man. You didn't draft him for 9 catches for 59 yards. That's just ridiculous to me, that a guy as explosive as he is only getting 6 yards per catch. Like, that's That's just absolutely just ridiculous. Everything. I mean, Theo Johnson with the drops. I mean, yeah, he caught the big touchdown late in the game, but those drop passes, man, he's got to clean that up. That young man's got to definitely clean that up. And there's all these passes behind the line of scrimmage. Look, I blame him for it because at this end of the day, when you're a veteran player, man, you gotta navigate around these things, man. I know what pretty much came in clean release free and all that shit. But at the end of the day, you got to still be a vet and you got to still navigate that situation, man, better. You can't just cough the football up in those situations, man. What's going on, Wells? You just can't. And if with him, it happens way too often, and I can't give him a free pass for that. I can't. I just can't do it because there's veteran quarterbacks that are smart enough to just know, okay, this play ain't it. Just get down, live to play another day. Keep your offense on the field. Can't. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. I just I can't continue to keep watching this with this guy, and I can't. If he was a first or second year player, then I'd be all with you, man. I'd be like, yeah, this poor kid. You know what I mean? I'd feel sorry for him. I'd feel bad for him. He's a 6 year guy, man. At some point, you gotta figure things out. He knows his situation. It's not like he's going into this game. He knows Andrew Thomas ain't out there for to covering his blind side. He understands these things. These things are things he knows going into the game. They say this is not some secret to him. This is not something that just happened all of a sudden. It's look when you look at the other side of the other side. You got the Washington Commanders. Yes, this team did. You know, they did some things in the offseason, in addition to adding to Jaden Daniels. But that was the one big thing as far as personnel wise goes. That was the real big move personnel wise that they made was getting Jaden Daniels. And look what this team is sitting right now, 7-2. It's their Washington's best start since 1996. At 7-2 right now. And what did they? I mean, the man. I mean, yeah, they added a few other pieces. I mean, Zach Ertz has been clutch for him at tight end, looking kind of coming back to form a little bit, looking like his old self at times. And I mean, you add like Austin Eckler, a guy like that. But I mean, let's face it. The reality is the one real big difference in this Washington Commander team is what they did at the quarterback position. And look at the dividends it's paying right now. This team is now, right now, not only are they first place in the NFC East, they are by far, in my opinion, the front runners to win this division right now as at this point, the way things stand currently. And I don't care what anybody has to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, the Washington Commanders are the best team in this division right now, legitimately. And Jaden Daniels is a big reason for that. It's just time for a change, man. I'm frustrated watching it. I'm tired of watching this team continue to lose football games the way they're losing. Now, this week, we've been praising the defense a good part of the season. This week, the defense did this team no real favors. It just wasn't able to get any pressure on Jaden Daniels. It was just a kind of a bad look. But, you know, it as a fan, I'm just frustrated and I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of watching this product, man. Like we were being out there on Sunday, out tailgating in the parking lot and all that stuff. I had a great time. But then when 1 o'clock came and it was time for this game to start, the game started and it was just like, here we go. Same old New York Giants. Same old New York Giants, man. Nothing changes with this football team, man. So yeah, but like I'm talking about true impact players, man. Like it's just Jaden Daniels is the one real true big like difference, like really that elevates this team. I mean, like I said, I'm not knocking some of the other guys they've added and bring to the table, but Jaden Daniels is the real true. Could have added all those other guys and still had who the hell was their quarterback last year? I don't even know who the hell it was
Sam Howell.
anymore. I can't even remember who it was.
Sam
Who?
Howell. Sam Howell.
Yeah, yeah, Sam Howell. And they could have still had Sam Howell, and they'd probably still be having the same struggles, man. A lot of the same struggles. it's a difference, man. You get that right guy in there, it makes a difference, man. But that's what I got, Adam, man.
Well, I can't disagree with you there on much of it. I think Daniel Jones is who he is. He's a backup quarterback in this league. They clearly didn't. They tried something that they thought would work in running the football because the Chicago Bears ran for 200 yards, but the Commanders knew, and so they were blitzing on every play. They just, it was just about what side the Giants would run on. If they would hit them, if the Commanders were coming from the left, the Giants tried to run to the right. They didn't necessarily know the blitz was coming there, but the running back went that way, right? And then the fumble, I will definitely blame him for the fumble because you see that guy coming and you're still trying to make a play. You should have just ate it. You're in field goal range. You have a drive that's moving and grooving, and you do that play because you're trying to hold it for the last second, even though the guy was on him. You have eyes for a reason. You don't play with your eyes closed, although sometimes it looks like he does, and so you got to get that. That's the difference in the game, technically. If you want to make it that, I think that technically it would have been a 2-score game, but they stopped at the 1-yard line. But the first half was a complete and utter disaster in the passing game. Utter disaster. Yes, there were drop passes, but how do you have 0 yards in the first half passing? You have a touchdown. You have 0 yards in the first half.
A touchdown with 0 yards.
Just think about it. Hadn't been done since 1991. Hadn't been done since 1991. A record that's damn near 40 years old. In this case, 33 years old, right? 30-year-old record. We break it. We break it. Because of the sacks, the passes, like the first drive of the game. They throw a 3-yard pass, they throw a 2-yard pass under the sticks, and the guy gets tackled to the tight end. What are you doing? Malik Neighbors probably should have been down that 4th down. They got lucked out because the Commanders didn't challenge it, but that could have been a 4th down on the other way. What are you guys running? What kind of play call is that? No dynamic. You know the difference between the Commanders and the Giants? They give a shit. Let's flip it to the Commander side for a minute. We want to talk about the quarterback. Listen, that quarterback has elevated that team. I don't care how many fucking bums they brought on there. Because I said that they brought on Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner. People told me he was washed up. We didn't expect this team to be where they are. They're buying into it. Hell, you know what they did? They're buying into it so much that they bought a cornerback a cornerback maligned from the Saints in Marshawn Lattimore.
Yep.
Why didn't the Giants get the ball back after the play? That fumble was blown dead because they realized it was a fumble and they gave it to Bobby Wagner when it was a clear recovery. And instead of giving them the touchdown, they just gave it to him where the ball was snapped at the 26-yard line. That's what happened. The whole thing was it was a fumble. They made it a forward pass, so it was going to be challenged anyways. Once they realized it wasn't a forward pass, it was a fumble, and then they went back and had to see who had clear things. And had they let the ball play out, the Redskins would have had the ball. The Commanders would have had the ball. So that's why they didn't get the ball back after that fumble. That play was blown dead. It was a clear recovery by the Commanders. The Giants didn't recover the football. So unless the Giants recovered the football, they wouldn't have gotten it. Somebody recovered it. Bobby Wagner. Did you not forget that? He ran to the end zone.
Oh. Speaking of that real quick, too, that's what I'm want to talk about. Because that, like you said, something that resonates, that they said the difference between these two teams is the Commanders give a shit. Well, that play was a prime example of that. As Devin Singletary just kind of, sat there. Well, he could have recovered the fumble. Oh, he absolutely could have. But,
right. That's
he had
awareness.
more important things to do, apparently. He had more important things to do, apparently. So
you're bringing up a point that's called awareness. Situational awareness. That's why they're winning football games. Here's another. Let's talk about that real quick. Situational football. Devin Singletary jumps on that ball. The Giants get the ball back. He doesn't. He's sitting there staring into space because he thinks the play's blown dead. You fight for the ball. That's why the Redskins got it, because they were taught to play through the whistle. So they played through the whistle. And guess what? Bobby Wagner knew it was a fumble, picked it up because he had the wherewithal and understanding, and he's coached well to know the down and distance and the circumstance. Now, on the other side of the football, There's 11 seconds to go in the game. You give them the ball. They're going for a Hail Mary. You get a 3rd and 20. They throw a dump pass to the receiver. You miss a tackle. He gets 20 yards. Then instead of sitting there and fucking just waiting and kicking the field goal, they attacked your fucking shitty corner and scored a touchdown. So now a game that was 7-14 could have been 7-17 is now 21-7 going into halftime. Oh, by the way, they're getting the ball. That's called awareness. You make that fucking tackle. Be aware of what you're doing. They knew that they were giving up on the play. And then they realized that they had a shot to do it. So, you know what they did? They called a shot play. They threw it to their best receiver in the corner of the end zone, and they scored a touchdown. They were being aggressive. That's what they were doing. It's called awareness. Our coaches are bad because plays like that win you football games. Little details, diving on a football. You take that, they dive on that football. Maybe the Giants score. Maybe the game is a 3-point game instead of a 5-point game at that point because they had a chance to kick a field goal. And oh, by the way, why are you going for 2, Brian Dable? Why are you going for 2? You are down a touchdown. You don't need to go for 2. What do you think you're doing? You're trying to win. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs you're playing, where if you're Baker Mayfield, and we'll talk about that on Premium Takes, maybe you go 2 for 2 there because you have Patrick Mahomes on the other end. No, you play to win. You play this game. You don't go for 2. Okay, it's not like you had your kicker was hurt. Greg Joseph was available. You fucking use your kicker. Maybe you were worried about the snap, and if you had come out and say that, it would have made more sense. If you had come out and said, "Well, we're not we were worried about the snap and everything, new holder and all that stuff," I could have bought that. But then you go for 2 again after that because you're chasing points. And now, because instead of just, and mind you, you're chasing 2 points. So had you kicked 2 field goals, what's that math? What's 2 field goals equal? Matt, do you know? What extra points count as? 1 point each, right?
They're 2 points. 1 point each. Those are 2. That would be 2.
So if you were to kick the point, if you were to kick the field goal at the end of the game, how much would they be? 1, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So think about that, right? And the Giants went for 2 twice, which technically means they should have had 4 points, but they didn't. So they lost, and all they were trying to do was get to the field goal, so they have to score a touchdown at the end of the game. Well, if you had kicked the field goal each time, you're down by 3 instead of 5, and you're playing it a little differently instead. But you also know what happens. So now that's another thing. So to get back to defense again, defense was terrible. I said something to Mac before the show started. The Commanders punted once the entire game. They played the Giants 2 times. And Mac brought up to my attention that in 2 games, the Commanders have punted once. Once. Think about that.
1 time.
And then to end the game, you put the onus on the defense to get a stop. And it's 3rd and whatever it is, and boom, what do? They go down the field, get a first down. What do they do again? Up 3rd, they go down the field, and they're at the 1 yard line, game over. And whenever they needed to play, they made a play because we couldn't stop them. The guy was clean all year. Oh, by the way, they ran on us. They threw on us. Okay? Austin Eckler had a renaissance. You had the Rodriguez running all over us. Okay? Terry McLaurin.
I want to say, whoever Chris Rodriguez is, he was tearing us up.
Yeah, big run.
I mean, it was just, like I said,
Terry McLaurin had 2 catches.
They wanted.
2 catches for touchdowns. He's exposing our Deontay Banks. He's exposing him in the media right now, telling you how to beat this guy. This team is in bad shape. Now, luckily for them, they get to go to Germany, and I mean, I don't know how I feel. I mean, we'll get into the game in a little bit, but to be honest with you, man, you said it best at the beginning. You don't know how to play to win. And let's be honest, in the second half of the game, Daniel looked great second half of the game. Okay, he had that angry run. Okay, the game was out of reach. They were up by 2 scores, and they were sitting back and kicking field goals, and just kicking field goals because that's what they needed to do. I said they would score 3 field goals. They scored 2. They could have scored another touchdown at the end of the game and made it a 2-score game and really blew us out. So it wasn't even a contest. And I think it's because of the game plan was shitty. You didn't pass the ball once really in the first half or define the – because think about this. And I want to paint – and this will be my last point. Close your eyes. Sit back. I'm going to take you on a journey. If this were Eli Manning, we would have won this game. If this were Eli Manning, he would have put the team on his back. He would have had – yeah, sure, Daniel had 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. fucking Eli would have had 4. He would have 4 touchdowns. The game would have been a laugher, and we wouldn't get swept by the Commanders. We wouldn't be 0-4 in the division because he would know how to read a fucking defense. They would trust him. They don't trust the quarterback. That's why they did it. Even though the run was gashing them, they weren't getting a lot of big runs. It wasn't like they were breaking off 20-yard gains here, right? They were methodically running the football, trying to ease it because they don't trust the goddamn quarterback. And you saw why on the first fucking drive. So that's why they shut him down. And then the second half, they had no other choice but to pass because you can't really run. Because another thing I will say, and I thought I was landing the plane, but it went back up for a minute, the third quarter. What a horribly managed third quarter. You basically wasted the entire quarter to then score a touchdown in the fourth quarter and then shorten the game for yourself. No clock management, awareness, or urgency. I'm done.
Yeah, and I am as well. We will move on. Still in the 1 o'clock window on Sunday, the Cowboys traveled to Atlanta, taking on them Atlanta Falcons, the first place Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South Division, man. And the Cowboys lost a lot more than just a football game here, unfortunately. Dak Prescott being placed on IR, could not finish the game and is now being placed on IR with the hammy. What's your take on this one, Adam?
My take is the Cowboys are floundering, and this is why it sucks to be. You said something best, right? You said it's a wacky year. Well, you know what the freaking worst part about having a wacky year is when your team is shitty and can't capitalize on that wacky year. Okay, 2022 was that year for us. This year, it's wacky again. You know, the big teams are still the big teams, but some of these middle-of-the-road teams are losing, and you have a chance to win. And what are we doing? We're floundering.
Yeah.
Floundering. Why? Because, the Cowboys, they made a trade. They get Jonathan Mingo. Why they do that trade, I have no idea. Don't ask me, but they needed receiver help anyways. I get it. He's going to be out there. He's a talent. He's coming from the Panthers. All right, look what the Panthers are doing. They're not trying to win games. They're getting rid of players. The Giants don't want to do that. But the Cowboys, who have struggled with injuries, they've had a bad season. No real excuses. They should be better than what they are. They've had a terrible year. And this is the year, watch what the Cowboys do. Let's say they get a new coach. All right, or they don't. They're going to retool because they're going to have a top 10, top 15 pick. They're going to get one of the top defensive players in the game. We're going to be like, oh, my God, how'd they get that player? What'd they do? Boom. Next thing you know, Dak Prescott's healed. They got a new offensive system. Bing, bang, boom, down the field, right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to retool, resize this up, and go. They're probably going to be in the running back market, right? But that's what they're going to do. Because that's what teams like the Cowboys and the 49ers do. They have a bad year. They retool. Think about Micah Parsons. 2020, they have a bad year. 2021, they land Micah Parsons. Okay? This is their Micah Parsons year. They're going to draft another defensive player or something like that when they get to the draft. But what sucks even worse is to be a team like the Giants where you had a chance to be in this race. You could be changing the narrative, Daniel Jones, but you're not because the Cowboys, who suck ass right now, are going to have their backup quarterback, and I guarantee you they're going to win some games with Cooper Rush. I put it on you. They're going to win some games with Cooper Rush. Is he going to be as mobile? No. Sometimes you need a guy like Cooper Rush to kind of, give a different perspective. And now they got a receiver in Jonathan Mingo. They're going to get Brandon Cooks coming back. Maybe they get a little bit more juice from the run game. Who knows? But he came in and he scored. It's not like they didn't score. He scored a touchdown. He moved the field downfield. So the Cowboys are in disarray. Their defense is not playing that well. They also met the best team in the NFC, one of the best teams in the NFC conference right now. You got to give it to Atlanta. I know they have 3 losses, but let's be honest, they lost in tough ways, right? A 1-point loss here, a 1-point loss there, nothing. They didn't get really blown out. And you're starting to see them hit their stride. Kirk Cousins is playing out of his mind. And I'm not making excuses for the Cowboys. We were saying this is what's happening. And, I thought they would play better. The wheels are falling off the bus. But, again, they're the Cowboys. They're a team that's going to try to scrape and claw their way. Mike McCarthy is going to have them, still playing and trying to finish their season on a high note. And if they win a game or two, guess what? They're back in the playoff race. So, they they lost, and this has been the count. I'm surprised they didn't get blown out. I thought they would have gotten blown out by Atlanta. They did not. They kind of hung with them. I mean, the score is not really that indicative of the game, but at the same time, they weren't like blown out, like motorboated, like, or excuse me, what do I say, a boat race like they were with the Saints. So I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. I mean, the Cowboy fans that I talk to know the season's over. They're kind of conceding it already. They just want to be better than the Giants at the end of the day, and we'll see what happens. Big game this week, and we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a tough one. This Dallas Cowboy team has just been one of the stories, big stories this season. Obviously, I mean, this team always comes in with big aspirations, and they definitely had them this year as well. I mean, like we constantly keep reminding people, we thought this was a definite a two-team race in this division between the Eagles and Cowboys, and that's not what we're getting this year. Obviously, as we see how it's playing out right now, the Eagles are and the Commanders are the ones going toe to toe, trying to try to squeak out this division. Whereas the Cowboys, like you said, they're floundering down there, kind of hanging out down there with the New York Giants. Only a game better right now than the New York Giants, and that's not where the Cowboys were expecting to be at this point in the season. And now with this Dak Prescott injury, who knows what effect that could end up having on the rest of their season, and how his a hamstring. I mean, this hamstring, who knows? They put him on IR, but who knows how long it could hamper him for the rest of the. He could be out for the rest of the season, for all we know. When you're dealing with hamstrings, you just never know. It's just one of those weird things. It's no real hard to get a real good timeline on those kind of injuries. So this football team is really they're just in a bad way right now, and I think they're not in a good space mentally either as well, and I think that's having an effect on them as well. Because let's face it, you look down this roster, even with the injury to Dak Prescott and some of the other injuries they've been dealing with, this is still a very talented roster, and it's the fact the way they're underachieving is just it's you just don't really have a lot of answers for it. So yeah, this Cowboy team's got a tough matchup this week, a big time matchup, and they got something to prove, and we'll see how they come out for this one this week. But yeah, for right now, this Cowboys team really needs to figure some things out. As I would say, technically, they do have a chance. Technically, still, if they can get their act together, but it's just not looking very likely. I mean, like you said, you talk to people that's conceded that feel like they've conceded this season as well already, and I mean, technically, they got a puncher's chance. But they got to really get it together, man. Get their act together. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the Cowboys going forward, man. But right now, they've got some soul searching to do because they are one of the biggest underachieving teams right now in this season thus far, which is flying by. Can you believe it's already week 10? It seems crazy that it's already week 10. But let's get to that 4 o'clock window, man. The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday afternoon, man. And once again, man, looking like the Saquon Barkley show in Philly, man. Been really tired of watching him put up all these amazing
He
highlights
just broke the internet.
in that Kelly Green, man. But that hurdle, that backwards hurdle, forget about it, man. You ain't you ain't never that he's getting nominated for ESPY for that for sure. Cause that shit was just crazy, man. I've never seen anything like that in a game. Yeah, you don't even see that shit on video games. Like that's just some out of world stuff right there, man. But Saquon Barkley with another huge day, 27 carries, 159 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He also had a receiving touchdown as he had 3 catches for 40 yards as well. Jalen Hurts, 18 of 24, very efficient performance, 230 yards and 2 touchdown passes. And Devontae Smith, who also had a spectacular catch in this game, touchdown. I think was it a touchdown. But yeah, this offense is really hitting its stride big time. But I still strongly feel like this defense on this football team is really going to be the Achilles heel of this football team when it's all said and done. The defense, to me, still is not making enough winning plays on that. They're not making enough winning plays on that side of the ball. They came out fast in this one against Jacksonville, and I thought it was going to be an absolute blowout. But Jacksonville got right back into the game, man, and made it interesting for the Philadelphia Eagles, man, in this one. What's your thoughts on this game, Adam?
Well, I thought the game got close because of a couple defensive plays that were made on the Jacksonville end. And I do agree their defense is, I wouldn't say it was weak. I think just sometimes it's bend but don't break. And, you know, they make plays. I mean, they do get sacks. They do get turnovers. They do make plays happen. So I just think that sometimes styles make fights. And, they're stopping the run. They're tackling. I mean, no, Kobe Dean had an interception in the game. I mean, think about that. That's a linebacker who makes the play. When was the last time the Giants had a freaking turnover? I don't even remember. But they got guys all over the field. So I mean, as much their defense is doing what their defense needs to do. When you have an offense like this, right? When you have an offense that can put up points and score, you don't need your defense to be all world. You need your defense to be good enough, and that's what they are. I know that's not the greatest explanation, but they're good enough to make some stops and get off the field every once in a while. And they have some talent in the back end with Garner Johnson, Quinton Mitchell, Cooper DeJean back there. The linebacker and Bond and N'Kobe Dean, and they have Josh Sweat who made some tackles. So they didn't have. It doesn't look spectacular for them, but they get the job done sometimes when they need it. They got the job done here. And if you look at it, if you think about what we're talking about, our defense doesn't make any plays. Their defense does make plays. So if we were really talking about, what they're doing, and let me bring up the numbers here just because I want to make sure that that I have the correct stuff in front of me. What the heck is happening right now? Sorry, computer. Okay, so the Jaguars, the score is 23-28, but it was far from that close. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had 2 interceptions. They dominated the run game. I mean, they didn't even let's look at the team stats here. So the Jaguars has 60 yards rushing, which is terrible. They had 155 yards passing and 215 yards total offense. Absolute ineptitude. How they scored all those points was beyond me. But they also had the Eagles had 447 yards total offense, 210 yards passing, obviously a little more than that. They count the sacks in this game, so they take away yards for sacks. They had 237 yards rushing. And like we said, Barkley came in here, and there's clips going around. It's not just the Barkley clip. It's the reaction from this teammate and that teammate and how it went. Listen, I watched a lot of running backs in my day. I've seen Barry Sanders. I've seen Emmitt Smith. Barry Sanders is one of my all-time favorites. This is Barry Sanders-esque, where you're like, oh, my God, did he do that? Remember, before the internet was even a thing, Barry Sanders used to break what would be the internet now, or the highlight things by juking guys out of their shorts, 11 guys on the field, and doing crazy things. I'm sure if we had the internet like we do now, and it was live, obviously you can go back and watch highlights, but that's not real time, you would have some of those highlights. That was this. I've never seen a man have the instinct to not see his opponent coming and jump over him, do a spin move, turn around, say, whoops, just hurdle him, get on, Perrier back on your feet for another 2 steps, then to get hit. That is incredible. And then to watch his teammates react on the sidelines, and then Lane Johnson looking over at Jalen Hurts go, that guy's special just like you. You're really starting to see what a guy like him can do on a winning ball club. Okay? And they are playing and hitting on all cylinders. And that play will go down in history as one of the best plays of all time. Like Odell Beckham Jr. has his catch that we always talk about. I mean, Devontae Smith had a great one too. That one will go down. That'll be a highlight reel catch as well. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But for Barkley, just to put a bow on it, that's going to be seen in a long time. And you're seeing what the effectiveness he has on the team, and what he is allowed to do, right? and having a touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown and he had 2 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. That's 3 touchdowns. 3. That's how crazy this guy is. Probably, I think he already won Offensive Player of the Week, but over 150 yards rushing and 40 yards receiving, and he's got a touchdown in both those categories. Okay, and we're talking about almost 200 yards of offense from one guy with the 140 or 150 of running, and then the 40 yards. Almost 200 yards of offense from one guy. Not to mention, look at what Jalen Hurts does. You want to talk about the difference between an aggressive team and a team that just gives up, or a team that lacks fundamentals. So, for example, the Commanders dump down their pass, and because of lack of fundamentals, they get 20 yards. It's 3rd and 22 for the Eagles. What do? They see that single high coverage that's one-on-one on the outside, and they throw it deep, knowing that they have a kicker that can make a play, right? So that's how you play the game. They didn't stop and do a little dump off and hope that Barkley can juke somebody out of their shorts, which he probably would have, right, and got them closer to the first down marker, which a lot of people do. No, you know what Jalen Hurts did? He walked up to the line. He knew what the play was called, and he said, F it, I'm going deep. And he threw the ball to the back of the end zone on a beautiful catch with Devontae Smith, who apparently an Eagle fan told me that he didn't see Devontae Smith. He just threw the ball. Well, you know what that means? That means you have timing and anticipation. When you have timing and anticipation, you don't need to know where a guy is. You just throw where you know the guy is supposed to be. And if that guy is there, it's a touchdown. That's what you call instincts. That's what you call anticipation. You work on the play, and that's what he said. We worked on that play. We work on it all the time. Well, if he misses the play because we had a discussion with AK, and he was like, well, what if he gets bumped off the play and he gets an interception? Then it's bad, right? It's not bad. It's the expectation of Jalen Hurts is I'm going to put it there. If I'm able to put the ball there, I'm going to put it there. If you're not there, that's on you. Find a way to get there. I'm putting the ball there. And that's how they did it. Okay? That's anticipated. The Giants don't have that. They don't have that repertoire. They don't have that sixth sense. And I'm not trying to go back and forth with the Giants all the time. I'm just trying to tell you and give you examples on how it's working, right? When you think of it like that, and you go down the field, and you're like, okay, I'm hitting my back foot, I'm throwing it 50 yards. I've done this before. I'm expecting him to be at that spot, that location. That's where I'm trying to put the ball. And that's where he did. And he put the ball in a spot where only his guy can make a spectacular catch to get it. That's it. It's either being dropped or, it's being caught for the touchdown. And who better to get it than Spider-Man himself, Devontae Smith? That guy is a beast. And as long as Jalen Hurts has one of his 2 receivers out there, they're going to be a dynamic offense.
Yeah, I just think, Devontae Smith should have been a New York Giant. We can go back to that draft day, but we know Eagles and Cowboys, some blasphemous stuff. Had a draft day trade that took that away from the New York Giants. I don't know what Devontae Smith would have been here with Daniel Jones as his quarterback anyway. So, who knows? That's a whole different story for a different day. But this is another, teams that do make winning moves and do what they need to do to make it happen. And the Eagles are a prime example of that. This team, they're starting to hit their stride a bit. I just wish they can get some things straightened out a little bit on the defensive side of the football, because I think that's still what's been hurting them a bit in these football games. This game to me should have been a blowout. I think they should have blew the doors off of Jacksonville, and like I said, they made it interesting. They allowed Jacksonville to get back in this and make interesting. Now, like you said, when it was time late in the game and they needed to clamp down and hang on and get the W, they successfully accomplished that as well. But that's against a 2-7 Jacksonville football team. So when you start you playing the better football teams and things and such, they haven't even had a matchup with the Washington Commanders yet this season. I can't believe I'm sitting here right now and I'm waiting and anticipating for the Philadelphia Eagles Washington Commanders matchups. You know what I mean? Like this is what it's all about in football, man. And right now this Eagle team, like I said, offensively they're a juggernaut. And they're getting scarier and scarier each week offensively. But they're going to have to still clean some things up defensively, I think, to match up with some of the better teams, not league wide and as well as in the NFC conference. I mean, we look at teams like the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons that we're talking about. Hell, even the Bucks, who are still playing good football as well. And that's another look at the Buccaneers right now. They are out. They have neither one of their top two receivers, and they just went toe to toe with the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football without either one of their top guys. No excuses for teams like that. They just go out there and they still handle their business. And Grant, they still came up a little bit short, but they fought tooth and nail, and it took overtime for the Chiefs to to knock them out on Monday night. It's just as Giant fans, it's the things that just hurt me as a Giant fan when I watch what the Giants have been doing and what they're putting out there, what kind of product that they're putting out on the field, man. And let's go ahead right on into that. 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning, we'll be tuned in for whatever reason. I'm going to wake up early on Sunday morning and put myself through this what's probably going to be an absolutely disgusting game on Sunday morning in Germany. The New York Giants playing the Carolina Panthers. I'm sure everybody wants to see that one. I mean, goodness gracious. For the first time this season, the New York Giants are the favorites. A touchdown favorite at that in this game. Really that. I mean, granted, they're playing against the Carolina Panthers who are sporting the same 2-7 record as them. Adam, what you got in this one, man?
Well, it's funny because only like I saw a like expert prediction on Twitter, and like one guy picked the Panthers, and I was talking to a friend, and he's like, "Well, the Panthers did win a game, and they are coming in with some momentum." I'm like, "Well, they have nobody, right? If the Giants lose to this team, which they probably shouldn't, right? I shouldn't guarantee a win, but they shouldn't lose to this team. If they lose to this team, we got bigger problems on our hands. Now they could because they're 2-7. You are where your record is. They played the Saints pretty tough, right? They have a solid run game with Hubbard, the back. He's a solid runner. We don't run. We do not stop the run for what it's worth. If Andy Dalton is starting, because I think they're kind of being a little coy with who they're starting. With who they're starting, I think Andy Dalton gives them a better chance to win this game than Bryce Young. Now, Bryce Young, again, is young, and no pun intended, he needs the reps. So they might try to throw him out there and see what happens. You got to be prepared for both because you never know what's going to – I know Andy Dalton's got a sprained thumb, and he hasn't been playing that great of football. I mean, he played decent against the Falcons, but he's not really that great this season. So, and apparently right now it's just Bryce Young to start for the Panthers versus the Giants in Germany. Andy Dalton will be the backup. So, there you go. 3 hours it came out. So they're going to give the young guy a chance, and don't be that guy. Please don't be that team. Please don't be that team that loses to this guy. Because they're going to set up a game plan for you to make it easy. They have nobody out there. They're going to probably run the football, make short dink and dunk plays for this kid. And they I don't know if they have a great defense, but they have some solid pieces on defense that can make some things happen. Jadeveon Clowney has 5 sacks. I wouldn't be surprised if they look at this game and play up for it. I mean, they have nothing to lose. What do they care? They win the game. They're probably still in the top 10 and getting a quarterback anyways. They lose the game, they're in prime position. Now, do I think that if they know that they're going to tank, they probably will start to pull people out of the game. But he doesn't have 5 sacks. Sorry. Jadeveon Clowney has 1 sack. Sorry. But, they're not a great team, but they won a game. They somehow, by hook or by crook, they won 2 games, right? So the Giants aren't that much better than them. I don't care what anybody says, but I do believe the Giants should win this game. And if they can't beat the Panthers, Brian Daboll should not return home on that flight. He should be given his, keep his passport, keep all there, say, hey, stay a week with the family. You're fired. Okay. You're out of here. And that's what I would do. And then I would let I would then bench Daniel Jones. He's going to be 2-8, losing to the Panthers. At that point, you just put in fucking Drew Lock, and away you go. But knowing the Giants, Daniel Jones will have his game. He'll have his 225 yards. He'll have a couple touchdowns. And everyone will be like, oh, see, he's back. And then we're going to get railroaded 2 weeks later by Tampa Bay. So that's what should happen.
I mean, yeah. Look, for what it's worth, I can see the Giants. I think the Giants are going to win this football game for a couple of different reasons. Because I think this is a team that they genuinely are better than. I think they're better than the Carolina Panthers. And I do believe that
They better
wholeheartedly.
be.
I think this is the kind of game. This is the kind of game that like you just said, Daniel Jones will go out there. He may have 2 or 3 touchdown passes in this game. I mean, this is the kind of stuff he does. He'll go out there against a team like this, and like you said, people will go all crazy on social media. See, Daniel Jones this and Daniel Jones that, but not acting like it's not the lowly Carolina Panthers that he did this to, and then
Which
also I
is
think the
typical Daniel
defense is
Jones.
going to be is going to play a big part in this one. I think coming off of that performance against Washington, which wasn't a very good one, I think this defense will get after Bryce Young and make it very difficult for this young man. And I think I think it will be a long afternoon in Munich, Germany for Bryce Young and this Carolina Panther offense. I think this defense will come fired up and be ready to play. And for whatever reason it is, the New York Giants do tend to play well overseas. They haven't played in Germany before, but they play well over there in those London games when they do go over there. There's always usually a pretty good outcome for the New York Giants when they cross that pond. So your Giants will take this one. I think honestly, I could see this potentially. I could see them potentially blowing the doors off of the Carolina Panthers. I really can. Crazy to say the Giants blowing the doors off of anybody, but I just they do things like that, and I think we're going to get a little bit of the same this week in the 9:30 in that game over in Germany against this Carolina. I think the defense comes up with a couple of turnovers. I think get a few say about 5 or 6 sacks on Bryce Young. I think it could be seriously one of those type of performances, man. Will go out there and probably ball out against the Carolina Panthers and have everybody thinking that he is truly the real deal when he's still just Daniel Jones. But that's all I really got from this one. I do think the Giants are going to win, but what does it really mean at this point? With 7 losses on the season, like we already said,
exactly.
This season is already over. So whatever. Unless you got anything else on this one, Adam, I'm gonna move on to the next one, man.
No.
Yeah. And that would be in the 1 o'clock window on Sunday afternoon. The Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Washington to take on Jaden Daniels and those Commanders, man. This is a big one. 2 of the best teams in each conference right now, man. Going toe to toe. Russ Wilson's really got the Steeler offense looking cooking, firing on all cylinders. And George Pickens has become a serious problem since Russell Wilson's been inserted into the lineup. And Najee Harris is still running the ball strong, and their offense is starting to put points on the board. And this Washington Commanders team is everything we've talked about earlier, man. Jaden Daniels got this team absolutely clicking. This team that just believes, and that makes them very scary, in my opinion. How do you see this one playing out, Adam?
What game was this? Sorry.
The Steelers and Commanders. So.
Oh, interesting. It's gonna be a matchup where we'll find out if if the Commanders are for real. Now, do they need to win this game? Not necessarily, right? I mean, I don't want people to be like, oh, they lost to the Steelers, they can't win. They need to be competitive. If they steal this game from the Steelers, it'll propel them to new heights. If they don't, they'll need to worry about, the Eagles and other things like that. What you want to see out of this game is how they come out, how they go toe-to-toe, like you said with Tampa Bay against Kansas City. Will they be able to go toe-to-toe with right now one of the better teams in the AFC conference? You hung with the Ravens. You lost by a touchdown in that game, right? This team is not as dynamic as the Ravens. Let's see what you got. You just got Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know if he's going to, start this week. He probably I mean, he might. These things. I mean, guys, he'll get some snaps. Let's put it that way. So that might help your pass rush a little bit. Um, if you can, Russell Wilson's been cooking these last few weeks. They had a bye week, and they're going to be rest up and ready to go. And T.J. Watt on that side, you better hope your offensive line is intact. I mean, the Giants, who are the league leader in sacks, got no sacks on this guy last year. So kudos to their offensive line. Again, we'll see. I want to see how Jaden Daniels. These are the games that kind of define a quarterback. Okay, now people are going to say the win-loss record. Yes, sure, but it's how he plays against this big team. Does he put up points? Does he move the ball downfield? Does he look like Jaden Daniels? Is the moment too big for him? Right, because you're not always going to win every game, but you want to have the feeling that you have a chance to win every game because you have the guy under center back there that gives you a puncher's chance. If people remember when Eli Manning was the quarterback, we didn't care about necessarily how he did it. We just knew that if he got the ball, he was going to give us a chance to win the game at the end, right? And, go down to score on a big drive or make some big plays in the game that, could get you the win. That's what you want to see. Now, I know that for a 7-2 team, you don't want to hear that. It's true. You probably shouldn't. You probably should be saying this is a team that's going to, be a litmus test to see if we can get to where we want to get to, which is ultimately a Super Bowl, right? But I just think Pittsburgh is a little better than them, and I'm going to take the Steelers in the Commanders' third loss of the year this year. Again, it'll be against good teams, which is what people will say they're feasting on right now, and that's true. But again, the only blowout they've had this season has been to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game one. They lost by 17, 37-20, right? Against the Ravens, they only lost by a touchdown, and it was close. Let's see what they do here. If they win this game, I'm telling you right now, it's a different story. But with the Eagles nipping at their heels right now with a 6-2 record, and eventually those games are going to come even at some point because Commanders are going to go on their bye week, and the Eagles have a chance to catch up. You got to win every game. That's why I told people last week. People were saying, "Oh, the Commanders don't have to win this Giant game." Yes, they do. Because right now the Giants are 0-4 in the division. The Commanders, I think, are 2-0. Right? So you're already off to a good start. So if you win this game against against Pittsburgh, and then you have a better conference record, and for some reason, let's say you split with the Eagles and you sweep the Cowboys, both you and the Eagles, you might need this as to win the division with your overall record itself. Maybe you win one more game than them, right? They have a hiccup game down the stretch somewhere. So all these games are crucial, especially when you're jockeying. Right now, let's be honest. If you're a Commander fan, you're talking about the playoffs. At 7 wins, you're talking about the playoffs. Even the Eagles, barring a catastrophe, you're talking about the playoffs, right? Because think about it, it's 8 games. Both the Eagles and the Commanders need to win at least 4 of them. And they're basically a lock for the playoffs. 4 for the Eagles right now would be 10 wins. They'd be 10-7. And 4 for the Commanders right now would make them 11-6. Okay? So that's what you're looking at, and all you gotta do is win 4 in the next 8, then you're in. So they're thinking about playoffs, and this is one of those teams where it's going to be a good test for them, and to see if they can build. I don't want to say that you can build off a loss, but if they lose this game, it might be one of those losses that helps propel them in understanding where their weaknesses are, and then getting a guy like Marshawn Latimer in here will help.
I mean, well, I do agree with that in the sense of the last thing you just said about a potential, if the type of game where they did lose, it could be a type that could propel them a bit. But I don't think they're gonna lose, man. They're at home. I mean, I understand how good the Steelers are coming out the AFC, a slightly better conference. I mean, than the NFC right now, but overall, this Washington Commanders team, it's like I said, it's just a belief in this football that this team seems to have. That and it's a confidence that this team has. I believe they're a bit more dynamic offensively than the Steelers are. Steelers offense has definitely picked up since Russell Wilson's been inserted into the starting lineup. But I just think this Washington Commander offense is a little more dynamic. I think the connection between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin is becoming a very special one. And another thing about something you said earlier in when you were speaking about them is at the moment to make sure the moment's not too big. I just don't Jaden Daniels. I mean, you can look right now. Here's we are 10 weeks into this season now, and you can probably hand the amount of times Jaden Daniels has generally looked like a rookie out there playing the quarterback position for this Washington Commanders football team. He is the bona fide leader of this team already. 10 weeks into his NFL career, he is the guy, the leader of that team. Not just the leader of that team. And I mean, and that shit's just real, man. I don't know how to explain it, but it's real. And it's a real thing, and you're watching it with this Washington Commanders team week in and week out. They go out there and they find ways to get it done, and they're gritty, and like I said, I hate the fact because they're an NFC East rival team, so it sucks from that aspect. But as a football fan, it's just really, really fun to watch. And I love watching this football team this season just based off of the way things are going, man. And that's not me, the Giants fan, like the Giants fan that I am speaking. That's just the football fan that I am speaking. This team, man, is something really special about them, man. And I like what they're doing. Dan Quinn has gone in there and he has done a phenomenal job, man. And he seemed to have make all the right. He hired all the right guys. Got Cliff Kingsbury in there. Got this offense, like I said, absolutely clicking. I mean, the run game, very consistent, strong run game. Brian Robinson, who was a late minute scratch on Sunday, pretty much, and no problem. Everybody else steps up. Austin Eckler, that Rodriguez kid or whatever his name was. It just doesn't matter. This team special, something real about this team, and I think on Sunday and another probably close one, I would assume against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think they get it done, man. I just really believe in what's going on down there in the nation's capital, man. But that's what I got. And there's one more game remaining on the docket for this week in the NFC East. And that would be the Philadelphia Eagles traveling down to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys down in Jerry's World. And Dallas Cowboys a 7-point underdog at home. That just that sound right. But based off of what we've seen this season between these two football teams, it's pretty much spot on, man. The Dallas Cowboys have not played very well pretty much at all this season, at any point this season. And they could even have another loss on that record. Like I said, the New York Giants gift wrapped that game to them on Thursday night some weeks back. So this, I don't, like I said, this team is crazy right now. They really can't seem to find their way. What's your thoughts on this one, Adam? This big time division, this what normally would have been a big time divisional matchup between the Eagles and Cowboys.
It's
it's not
odd
so much
because
now. But what do you?
it's odd because we picked this team to be fighting for 1 and 2, and they're not. I mean the Cowboys are a wounded animal, right? They're desperate. The Eagles, could it be a trap game for them? Who knows? The Eagles, if the Eagles think that they're serious contenders, they need to blow the doors off this Cowboy team. I think the Cowboys will somehow, by crook or by crook, stay in it. I think Cooper Rush, while he's not great, he'll move the offense if the defense.
He's capable backup.
Right. And like you said, that Eagle defense is not, not the 85 Bears out there, so they can do some things. Their offensive line is decent, so that I don't know if they'll be under a lot of pressure. So, You know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what he does, and well, I think he'll get better. It's not like, again, Cooper Rush is not terrible backup, but he does what they need to do. I don't think he's going to be overly spectacular. But if you told me that they win this game because of Cooper Rush, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm not going to pick them. With that being said, I'm going to pick the Eagles. I just think the Eagles are, going to be able to score on this Cowboy defense, which looks like they've got some issues back there. Trayvon Diggs doesn't look the same after his Achilles injury. They're getting Deron Bland back. I know that's a bit of an issue. They have some talented players that they're not getting Parsons or Armstrong back just yet. So I don't think this game is right to be had. But they're the Cowboys, and when you doubt them for some reason, they rise up. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out which way to go here because Cooper Rush he's a capable backup. I mean, he's actually probably I'd say he's one of the better backups in the league. I mean, that's not saying a whole lot, I suppose, but he's one of the better backups. He's a guy that could come in, and I agree with No Mess. I mean, he can come in and he can put together a few good games, and we've seen that before from him. And now this isn't Cooper Rush just getting thrown out there in the game, without really any real preparation throughout the week. This is Cooper Rush that will be preparing. He knows he's going to be starting in this one, and he's going against the division rival in the Philadelphia Eagles with something to prove, man. And go out there and prove that he can maybe turn these Cowboys' fortunes around. So I'm kind of having a hard time with this one because the Eagles they're known for a few letdown games here and there along the way. As we know, this football team also like they have those kind of those situations where, like every year with this football team. You saw where they hit the wall last year. They hit the wall hard. They never ever recovered, to be honest. Uh, but I could, you know what? I'm gonna go for it just because 7-point underdogs at home. That's got to be eating away at the Cowboys. They know they players try to pretend they don't pay attention to what's going on in the news and all this that. They do. They pay attention to all that shit. They know they're 7-point underdogs at home against this Philadelphia Eagle football team. And I think maybe some of these guys may have enough pride to take that a little personal and go out there and you know what? Cooper Rush finds a way to get a close win against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. That's my upset pick special of the week right there, man. I think the
Wow.
Philadelphia
Oh,
Eagles take an L to the Dallas Cowboys, led by Cooper Rush on Sunday.
well, that would be pretty interesting because that would leave the Commanders, according to your calculations, at the top of the division. I mean, technically, I would have the Eagle in my calculation. The Eagles would be leading the division. So we'll see. I mean, that's why they play the games on Sunday. Thankfully, if you're a Giant fan, your game gets to be over early, so you'll either get a great feeling in the morning or you'll have a shitty feeling in the morning. And you know, this is the NFC East. It's been a weird, like you said at the beginning, a weird season. Nobody expected the Commanders to be where they are. We all expected the Giants to be where they are, but we didn't expect the Cowboys to be where they are. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm kind of interested to see how Cooper Rush does with the offense. Will he? He doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
Dak Prescott doesn't run either, but maybe he's not as gambly, and he'll just take what's in front of him. He did score a touchdown last week against Atlanta, so maybe that momentum carries over into this week.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a game, and there's still that pride, that just pride on the line amongst division rivals, man. And I don't know. Cooper Rush getting, like I said, he's actually, like I said, it's not no surprise to him. He's out there preparing and practicing all week. He's the guy this week, ready to go, man. I think he'll be ready to go because for what it's worth, I mean, he's not, like I said, he's a capable backup. He's actually a pretty smart quarterback. He makes good decisions with the football. I mean, I not speaking like I'm a Cooper Rush expert, but I've seen him play a few times, and I mean, the guy, he's not terrible. I mean, let's face it, he's not terrible. He's not great either, but he's not but he's not terrible. So
Mhm.
I think he's good enough. to get the job done a few times this season for the Dallas Cowboys, man. And I think this could be a big one for them, another big one for them to put on the resume. And I like the Cow. I just like the Cowboys for some reason this week. I think they've been so low. They've hit such a low spot, low point right now that they're bound to pull one out their ass. And I think this could be the week that they do that, man. As weird as it may sound, it's just how crazy this season's been. This season has been just absolutely mind blowing in that way. So I could see it happening. But that's all I really got, man. I don't really have much. We don't really have much else to dive into. If you got anything you want to just get off your chest, Adam, about anything, whatever, take it away, brother.
I just wanted to say, no matter what happens with this Panther game, doesn't change the fact that you need to move on at the end of the year with the Giants in this quarterback in this situation. Don't let fools go. Like, let him play. If Daniel Jones wants to have a good game, good. Then when he goes to a team next year and battles for the starting job, great. But this team, like Max said, the season is over. They're not. This game and maybe the Saint game is another game that you might think is a winnable game. But other than that, not many other games are going to be winnable. I don't feel. I've looked. I mean, the Colts game, they're going to be a tough team to beat. They went toe-to-toe with the Vikings a couple weeks ago. Atlanta is going to be tough, as you saw. And they're not going to need the game against the Giants as they're trying to get their march for what they're doing. Tampa Bay, I know they're beat up, but they scored 24 points. And against the Giants, who are reeling right now, they can score a lot. So, and then the Cowboys, who, we play the Cowboys as well, sprinkled in there, and the Eagles again. I can see the Cowboys beating us on Thanksgiving in their building. It's going to be a tough one. So we'll see what happens. And if you're a Giant fan, you should want the Giants to be as crappy as possible so they can get their record up. There's no need to try to win moral victories. We did that last year. Look where it got us. We're right now, moral. Look at what the Commanders did. Did they have moral victories? No. They had shitty victories, and they got Jaden Daniels. And now they could, if on Sunday, if they win in the next 2 weeks, they're going to have doubled their win total for the season. Okay? With the expectation of this team was 7 wins. This is what their ceiling was 7 wins. They're blown through that ceiling right now. They've blown through that ceiling.
They already have that.
Exactly. They have that.
Wow.
We said at best we think this team will be 7 wins at best. They'll win 7 games. Got some of that. They're on pace to win what? They could possibly win 14 games. Not saying they will, but they're definitely going to be able to finish in double digits. Meanwhile, the Giants, who are going to do nothing this season because they're probably going to have double-digit losses, maybe under 6 games.
Oh, they're definitely have double-digit losses. Probably.
Right. And we're going to be sitting here at like number 6 or 7, having to trade up with the Patriots at 4 to go get a quarterback like Nussmeier or trade up and get Jackson Dart. Because from what I'm hearing, those are guys they're kind of interested in, as well as Cam Ward. And there's still a lot of football left to be played. A lot of things are going to happen. But to me, I don't care if the Giants win on Sunday. I don't need you to win on Sunday. They're going to win because the Panthers have nobody on the team. Right? The Panthers are playing for a tank. They're playing to get the prime position to get the select quarterback, whether that's Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. I think they're going to go with Shedeur Sanders, to be honest with you. I think that he's just as good, and he will play right into Carolina and build that franchise right up, right? And then that leaves Cam Ward for whomever is left, the Raiders, things like that. But if the Patriots end up number 2, and I'm Joe Shane, I'm calling them up. I'm making them an offer they can't refuse, and I'm going to get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward because that's what you need to do. The mission is what the mission is. Just because we win a fucking couple of games. The Giants aren't going on some miraculous run. They're not going to end up winning 7 games in a row, win 8 games in a row, and be like 9 and 10 and whatever. No. This is the time to evaluate who's going to be here, find out who the guys are going to be going forward, who is not going to be here. And don't worry about win losses. Worry about getting better as a football team. And the wins will come. But right now, we can't win because we're not good at anything.
Technical difficulties. I can't. You cutting out.
I'm cutting out. Am I back now?
But I can.
Can you hear
Yeah, I
me?
can hear you.
What I'm saying is the
Yeah, I can hear you.
Giants stink at a lot of things, right? So the best thing, the thing that they're good at is losing, right? They have no direction. The defense is giving up. The offense is scores 15 points a game. They need to worry about the guys going forward and not worry about winning games, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're 2 and whatever or 5 and 11. What is that going to do? That's going to put you down a couple spots. I'd rather be, 2 or 3 and 13 and have a chance at these quarterbacks coming out than worry about fucking winning a couple games to make it look good. The record is what the record is. If you're in the top 10, you probably should be fired. So why not go get the best players at their position? So if I'm the Giants, go to Germany, enjoy the sights, eat some sauerkraut, have some beer, and, don't worry about winning.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's easier said than done, though, with players. I mean, competitors, guys go out there. I mean, it just is what it is. Look, I hear you with there's no point in winning the football games, but I just can't accept them losing to the Carolina Panthers either. So I just can't. That's not, to me, that's not acceptable. There's, I mean, a lot of other teams on this list on the rest of their remaining schedule. That's all well and good, but the Carolina Panthers, I can't accept them losing to the Carolina Panthers. I think
Imagine if they do.
that just
Wow.
causes a major meltdown.
If they
That would be
lose
a
in this,
major meltdown, and I agree. I agree with what you said. They lose to Carolina. Dayball needs to just keep his ass in Germany, and he can keep Daniel Jones right along with his ass. If they lose to the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, I mean that's just not going to be. This is like I said, one of only a couple of teams coming into this season that I even really remotely felt strongly that the New York Giants were truly a better football team than, and you just can't. They just can't lose this football game. To me, this is one where even this is their last win of the season. They got to win this one. They can't lose to this football team. As far, especially with Bryce Young at quarterback. I mean, look, this is no way. You can't let Bryce Young have a breakout moment in his career at your expense. You just can't allow that to happen. So anyway, I mean that's really all I got. I don't know if you got if you anything else at all before we wrap it up
no,
completely, man.
I'm good.
But yeah. So everybody, I want to thank y'all for tuning in to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I'm Mac the Giants fan. This is my guy, the super dope co-host Adam Costas. Make sure y'all go to his channel. Just hit that sub, hit the subs, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. Do the same thing at my channel at Mac the Giants fan. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Keeps appreciate you guys each and every through, man, and hanging out with me and Adam for about 90 minutes of NFL talk. Monday, the New York Giants can be a good football team again. We talk about all that, the election last night. Congratulations, seventh president of the United States. His slogan, "Make America Great Again." The hell with all that. New York Giants great again, because I'm tired of waking up and not being able to watch my football team look like a competent football team. Okay? I'm tired of it. Tired of it. It's disgusting, and I can't take it no more. Okay? So somebody, damn, make America great again. Make the New York Giants great again. Okay? Somebody make the New York Giants great again. But anyway, I am Mac the Giants fan. That's Adam Costas. We'll see y'all again next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard time. And you can most definitely check myself and Adam out along with our guy Zion Zenith tomorrow, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast. See y'all next week. Hey! I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, MacDaGiantsFan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at MacDaGiantsFan. That's MacDa Giants Fan.